This is the Euhpree Stellar Falcon step through. We've got the mid step over there. Is this the fat tire e-bike killer that Euphree claims it is? That's what we're gonna find out in this full review. First, I'm going to dive into all the components. There's some customization that I've never seen on an electric bike. This bike also has a torque sensor and a cadence sensor. You can select between them. Then we'll get into some first-person riding footage where I'll put this bike through its paces and see what it's capable of. And so even, going on some grass here, plenty of power. And finally, we'll get into some third-person riding footage, and I'll give you the key considerations for this electric bike. But first, let's take a closer look. At its core, the Stellar Falcon is a commuter electric bike that you can also take off-road, or if you'd prefer, an off-road bike that you can also ride on the road. And this is actually Euphree's only second model. But don't let that dissuade you from purchasing from Euphree, because compared to other brands that offer a wide range of models, they decided to first start with commuter electric bikes and then make that bike better year after year. I'm talking about the Euphree City Robin X Plus that we've also reviewed. That's going to be more your strictly commuter electric bike. Check out our full review of that bike. The company also sells online, and if you do decide to purchase online, we appreciate it if you use our link down in the description. But they also have recently expanded their dealer network, so there's a chance that you might be able to see this bike in person and pick it up from a local bike shop. And one of the reasons that I recommended the City Robin a lot was because it comes outfitted extremely well. That, of course, has made it to the Stellar Falcon. And I'm going to talk about some of those unique features, but first, let's talk about price and sizing. Whichever one you choose, the price is $22.99, and it comes in 4 really cool colors. Here we have the crimson red in the step through. It's also offered in this really cool galaxy blue, as well as black cherry, or if you prefer, onyx black. If you're a longtime viewer of the channel, you know I typically recommend the step through on the Stellar Falcon. 19-inch standover height, but actually it's only a few inches taller at 23 inches on the mid step. Here's how I look as a 6-foot-tall rider. Easy to get my leg over, and of course, full leg extension. Here's the mid step, just a little bit higher, and still plenty of clearance when you get off the bike to stand over it. Now, if you're torn on the step through versus the mid step, you might want to go with the step through if you plan to stick to pavement more often, or if you plan to take it on trails more often. You might like the increased rigidity that the top tube gives you. It's also a little bit more of an aggressive look. Of course, the choice is up to you. Now, I did say potential fat tire e-bike killer. One of the benefits on this electric bike is it's lighter weight at 72 pounds. Now, don't get me wrong, that's still heavy, but a lot of the fat tire electric bikes can be around 90 pounds. So if weight is a big consideration, this might be important to you. And the bike has a payload capacity of 285 pounds. Let's dive into some of the awesome components. Starting in the front, of course, at this price point, we have hydraulic disc brakes from Tektro, 180 millimeter rotors. And at this price point, we should expect some other nicer components. One of them are going to be these awesome tires that make up the heart of this electric bike and what it's capable. These are from Schwalbe, and they're called Johnny Watts 27.5 by 2.8 inches wide. And of course, these are thinner than true fat tire electric bikes to increase range. But yes, they have some knobs on them, so you can take this bike off-road. We also have a reflective sidewall for increased visibility. And the front wheel is attached with a through axle, which makes sure your tire is where it's supposed to be. It also offers more strength. And the next thing that's going to set this bike apart is the front suspension fork from SR Suntour. This is the X132, and it's an air suspension fork, which means you can really dial it into your weight. We'll put on the suggested PSI direct from Euphree. That also means that if you buy this bike and you're a DIYer, you should pick up a shock pump, otherwise your bike shop can help you out. So you put the air in here. There's also a lockout adjustment on the right. This is what you can expect out of the front suspension fork. The fork also uses boost spacing for increased strength. That also makes it capable of holding these wider tires, and there is a rebound adjustment knob as well. The bike comes outfitted with sturdy metal fenders that really hug the tire nicely, and in the rear as well. And if you're looking for a more aggressive look, you can remove the fenders as well as that rear rack, and this bike will resemble more of a mountain bike. One of the nice touches is the cable management. In fact, the brake cable comes down through the fork to hide it better, and all the cables that come from the handlebars are tucked into the stem very nicely, super clean. That leads me to the adjustable stem, which allows for a more upright riding position if you prefer. Otherwise, bring the stem down and forward for a more aggressive riding position. Now, compared to the City Robin, these are more standard handlebars. They aren't swept back, and that is because this is really a dual-purpose electric bike. Moving to the cockpit, we have Tektro brake levers with motor cutoffs, Velo locking grips on the left and right, very comfortable. A bell on the right. There's a Shimano 8-speed trigger shifter, and on top of the stem is this mount here. This is compatible with SP Connect phone cases, so in case you want to put your phone right here, that's super handy. The bike comes with a left-hand thumb throttle. Next, I want to dive into all the unique features that are within this display. For pedal assist levels, you have off, eco, tour, sport, and turbo. Holding pedal assist down while the pedal assist is turned off enables walk mode. We have speed front and center, battery percentage on the right, odometer, trip, and average speed. Now here's where it gets really interesting. Holding pedal assist up and down, we'll get into some advanced settings. So we have display setting, auto off, trip reset, brightness. What's going to be most interesting here is ride style. Now, in each pedal assist level, you have the option to change the timing and power assist. So the timing is going to be how fast the torque sensor kicks in, and the power assist is going to be actually how much force you get from the motor coinciding with the pedal assist level. We'll play around with that in the upcoming first-person riding footage, but this is an amount of customization that I haven't seen on a torque sensor electric bike. Now, if you need this to be a Class 1 electric bike, you can turn the throttle off. And in drive mode, the option to change it from a torque sensor to a cadence sensor. Now, a cadence sensor, the motor is going to kick in as long as you're pedaling. A torque sensor is actually going to measure how much pedal input you're putting in and amplify it in a more natural way. And we also have light mode. We'll come back to that in a second. Going to information, you can change the speed limit. So if you want it to be a Class 2 or Class 3 electric bike. There's also the option to change the theme, which changes some of the colors. You can set a password. Underneath the display is a USB-C port so you can charge up your device. So right now I have the light set to standard, and I'm going to turn on the light by holding the pedal assist up button. Euphree has always prided itself on having a brighter than most front headlight. This is 200 lux, and it also has side visibility. It blinks when the lights are on, and then if you pull the brakes, they go solid. But let's turn the light mode to strobe. This is a setting that I really like, and I want to see it on every electric bike. We'll turn the light on. So now it's flashing, and you might be wondering why you would need this. Well, riding during the daylight, it's really handy to have a flashing front light to help people see you better, and that keeps you safer on the road. And the backlight, of course, flashes as well, and when you hit the brakes, it goes on solid. Next, we have the battery, which is housed underneath the frame. Keys on the left, turn that to the left, and then there is a little lever underneath that'll drop the battery out. This battery is UL certified, and it's a 48 volt, 15 amp hour battery, slightly above average. It has an LED indicator to give you an idea of the current capacity, and it just happens to fit perfectly in our waterproof and flame resistant battery bag that you can pick up at shop.ebikeescape.com and also help support the channel. Thank you for your support. It's a great option for when you're on the go. So we'll put the battery back in, terminals first. Put the battery in, turn the key to the right and pull out. For included accessories, you get this T-handle as well as an Allen set. You get some reflectors, some fun stickers, and of course a charger. It is Euphree branded and it has a 2 amp output, so it'll be about 7.5 hours to charge it from empty. Next we have the bottle cage bosses on the step through. A perfect place to mount the best water bottle cage on the market that can hold large water bottles. If you do opt for the mid step, you do get a second set right here. And there's a charge port located on the bottom of the frame to charge your battery when it's in the bike right here. Pretty minimal branding, Euhpree Stellar Falcon on the rear stays. The bike comes with plastic Welgo pedals, a burly kickstand located in the rear, no chances for the pedals to come in contact with it. Motor cable running along the rear here. Here's the Tektro hydraulic disc brake in the rear. The rear rack has a max capacity of 55 pounds and is compatible with their snap-in basket. And if you'd prefer, you can opt for a front rack and basket. You simply remove the Euphree badging up here in the front, 25-pound capacity on the front basket. Next we have what my wife and I refer to as the game changer. This is a SR Suntour NCX suspension seat post, and it greatly increases comfort while you're out on the road. So it's really a full suspension electric bike with high quality components in the front and the rear. I'm going to hop on it just so you can see the rear suspension in action. And there is a preload adjustment that you can change depending on your weight at the bottom. And this accessory would usually cost you around $100 to purchase separately. The saddle is more of an in-between. It's not a mountain bike saddle, but it's not a comfortable cruiser saddle either. That of course is personal preference. I'll take one that I can pedal on more comfortably any day. In the rear is a Bafang 750 watt motor that they say is peaking at 1200 watts. We'll be sure to put all those 1200 watts to the test in our hill climb test. Gearing is 11 to 32 teeth, and they're using a Shimano Altus derailleur. Again, 8 speeds compared to the 7 that we see most often. Some of these cables are running internally on the frame. We have a chainstay protector to keep your frame looking nice, because you will be taking this bike off-road more than likely. And in the front is a 50-tooth front chainring, metal, dual-sided. Another thing that gives this bike a more premium feel is the smooth welds throughout. You can see that there's no weld lines on the head tube. That's also going to be the case on the mid-step. That's everything you need to know about the components, but let's put their on and off-road claims to the test. All right, this is going to be a fun one and a comfortable ride as well. Let's get started with the first-person riding footage. Now, the bike comes shipped as a Class 3 electric bike, which means the throttle won't be engaged, but you will be able to get up to speeds of 28 miles per hour. I went ahead and turned the throttle on and turned the top speed down to 20 miles per hour as a Class 2 electric bike. So we'll see how fast this bike can get up to 20 miles per hour on throttle alone. I have the speedometer app by Coolnix. That will be easier to see than the smaller display from Euphree. All right, here we go. Throttle only, 3, 2, 1, go. And here we go, 11, 15, 17, 19, and there's 20 miles per hour. And I can feel the motor cutting off. Looks like the Euphree display is spot on with the GPS. One thing I will call out is this motor is maybe slightly louder than some other hub drive electric bikes. Now keep in mind that this bike is using a torque sensor or a cadence sensor, and I left it in the torque sensor setting because I think most people buying this bike likely want the more natural riding experience. And if my riding so far is any indication of the power of this bike, as well as the customizations within the display, you're gonna have plenty of power. Now that we're done with the throttle test, I'm gonna put this in Class 3 mode, and we might actually test out the full power of the throttle here towards the end as well. And probably a little bit of off-road footage as well. Now in the settings for ride style, I left the timing as well as the power assist in the stock settings. Looks like medium for most of those, with the exception of turbo. I wanted to see just how much power you can get out of turbo, so I did crank that up. All right, here we go in eco. And first gear, nice and gentle. cruising about 8-9 miles an hour. Now what I'm going to do is, because it is a torque sensor, is I'm going to just pedal at a leisurely cadence, and then I'll give it a little bit more effort so you can get an idea of what speeds you're gonna hit in each pedal assist level. I did shift up into third gear, so 10-11 miles an hour, very easy. And giving it a little bit more, I don't feel too much more motor power. It feels like I'm just pedaling past that speed, going about 13 or 14, putting in more effort. Let's go up into tour. Gentle cadence. Let's go up to fourth gear. Very easily cruising at 14, 15 miles an hour. And if I give it a little bit more, there's 16. 17 miles an hour. All right, let's go up into sport mode. Sticking in the same gear, cruising at 16. Let's shift up. Fifth gear. All right, now in sport, we're going about 18, 19, and a little bit more power. There we go. Now I can feel some more of that motor power. Already getting up over 21 miles an hour, 22. Shift up in the sixth gear. This bike just fits me perfectly. I love the size. I love the feel on this pavement that certainly has some bumps. You can feel the suspension seat post, such a nice feature. All right, now let's go into turbo. I'm gonna shift up, seventh gear. Again, that's of 8, and I can feel the motor. It wants to give me more. Going 22 miles an hour. All right, and let's do this next part in turbo from a stop. We'll just see how fast the acceleration is. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1, turbo mode. With the higher power assist, gotta shift up. So what's nice about this torque sensor is that even if you don't want to provide a lot of effort, but you still want to hit high speeds, I'm still not providing that much effort. Going 26 miles an hour, getting close to class 3 speeds, 28 miles per hour. And I could pedal like this for a long time. Probably gonna burn that battery up pretty fast though. Let's shift up to 8th gear. And yeah, just a little bit more power from those legs. And we're hitting 28, 29 miles an hour. And of course, that's where the motor is going to cut off due to the speed limit settings and what classifies as an electric bike. All right, so I talked about how the speed limit coincides to the speed limit of the throttle. So the idea is after 20 miles per hour, if you're going into the advanced settings, you're disabling the throttle. Now I do want to show off just how powerful this motor is. Say you do plan to take this off-road, a lot of brands will call this off-road mode. Just be aware that then it doesn't really classify as an e-bike at that point because the throttle is engaged after that 20 miles per hour. We always recommend to follow all your local laws and regulations and be a kind e-bike rider. All right, here we go. Let's see what we can do. We'll do a brake test. Throttle only, 17 according to 20 according to the Euphree display. You can probably hear the motor as well, 24. So yeah, 28 miles an hour, and I'm guessing you could go maybe beyond that too. All right, next let's do a brake test at the fire hydrant. Trying not to lock up those tires. Even at 28 miles per hour, plenty of stopping power from these Tektro hydraulic disc brakes. What we would expect from these brakes, given they come on so many electric bikes. All right, let's get into some off-road riding, see what this bike can do, and then after that, we'll do our hill climb test. All right, I have the perfect example of what this bike is perfect for. I have a train in front of me, as you can see, and just gonna go do a little bit of off-roading to go around it because it is blocking our hill climb test. Now, this is the kind of terrain that I would expect some people are going to take this bike on, some crushed gravel paths. I wouldn't take it on any serious single track. It's not really meant to be an electric mountain bike, but more capable than a lot of other bikes out there. And those Johnny Watt tires with more tread on them, again, being a little bit wider, that's gonna give you some more confidence on terrain like this compared to, say, the City Robin X Plus, which still does have some hybrid type tires, but I would really keep that bike to something where there's not going to be a lot of varying terrain. And so even, going on some grass here, plenty of power. And we can just zip around. And if you wanted to, you get some confidence. You can go off a curb. This would just make a fun commuter electric bike if you decide to be a little bit more daring, shall we say, or if you just want a dual purpose electric bike. We'll go on the grass here some more, and there is just no problem with this motor. It's just kind of what I feel comfortable speed-wise, even over rough terrain. Just got to make sure you keep the handlebars straight, stay in control. All right, with that, let's get to our hill climb test because we just beat the train. Our first test up the hill will be throttle only. The GoPro makes it look so much smaller than it is, so we'll throw up a picture as well as the specs, and we'll see what the minimum speed is. Keep in mind, I am a lighter weight rider at around 145 pounds. I have no doubt, though, that this motor will power us up. And we did get up to 27 miles an hour. All right, hill starting now. $20, $19. This is definitely going to be one of the better performing bikes on this hill. I mean, I know I had it overridden, but I don't know if it's going to go below 19 miles an hour. And back up to 20. This is a very impressive motor. So undoubtedly, no problem going up hills, but you're likely to pedal. This is an electric bike after all. So let's go back down and I'll do the same test while pedaling. All right, hill climb test while pedaling. Let's turn it down to Eco, and I'm going to shift all the way down. Now, I talked a little bit about the timing and power assist, the customizability. I find that the torque sensor feels pretty responsive. There's maybe a slight delay, but you almost want a little bit of a delay because you don't want it to be super jerky. It's nice to feel a little bit of your own pedal before that motor kicks in, especially if you're in a higher pedal assist level. So that's the timing setting that you can turn up if you want it more sensitive. Eco pedal assist in first gear. This is definitely where I would want more motor power. I'm putting in quite a lot of effort. So let's go to tour. Can feel some relief here. This might be the pedal assist level. If you still want to provide some effort, but also conserve the battery. And I could cruise up the hill at 7 miles an hour. And I could even slow down my cadence and I still feel the motor giving me power. I'm just gonna go up the hill a little bit slower. Let's go up into sport mode. Could feel some more power there as well. Creeping up the speed 8 miles an hour. And I did feel I put a little bit more power into one pedal stroke and I feel the responsiveness of the motor going about 9 miles an hour. Maybe shift up into second. And of course, if you just want to bomb up the hill, turbo is where it's at. Shift up to third gear, and pedaling very easily, 13 miles an hour, I can cruise up the hill. And I could provide more effort if I wanted to and get the maximum amount of power from the motor. 17 miles an hour. Creeping up to 18, maybe even shift up to fifth gear. And just like that, we are at the top of the hill. All right, with that, let's get into some third-person riding footage. I'll give you my concluding thoughts on the Euhpree Stellar Falcon. I knew eventually Euphree would come out with a second model, but they really had a high bar to overcome because the Euphree City Robin was such a well thought out product that only got better as time went on. With the Stellar Falcon, Euphree didn't veer too far from what they know people want, but they did ensure it would appeal to a slightly different crowd. At $22.99, it's getting up there in price, but the components warrant it. Still, customers should be aware that at this price there are some mid-drive options out there, though I feel like Euphoree's other choices of components make this a more complete package. And really, this is an e-bike that's in a category for the most part of its own. The Schwalbe Johnny Watts at 27.5 by 2.8 inches wide, which aren't fat tires but still offer the do-everything tread, are what set the tone for this e-bike. So name brand tires, check. Then to ensure you won't be longing for better quality suspension, you have the SR Suntour air suspension fork. And just for good measure, the SR Suntour suspension Seatpost makes the ride even more comfortable, especially when tackling off-road terrain. I recommend one no matter what e-bike you buy, and you can even pick one up from our own shop at shop.ebikeescape.com. Other aspects that set this e-bike apart are generally just a more premium look and feel, from the hidden wiring, bright headlights, sturdy metal fenders, and clean welds. I'd say it's an e-bike you'd expect in bike shops, but Euphree e-bikes are already offered in nearly 120 shops across the US, though if you do buy online, we do appreciate your support, link in the description. Size-wise, this is a bigger e-bike, so shorter riders should be mindful of this. At 6 feet tall, I felt perfectly at home. While the step-through is very accessible, it still feels like a large e-bike, and the closer you are to 5 feet tall, you might want to look elsewhere since you might only be able to touch the ground with your tippy toes when on the saddle. Here's my wife at 5'5" on both the step-through as well as the mid-step. Note that if you call Euphree, you can opt to forego the suspension seat post, which does allow you to drop the seat 3 to 4 inches. The mid-step was a good choice and a unique one, as it doesn't compromise too much on accessibility, but still gives that top bar look that some riders prefer. The adjustable stem allows for further customization of the riding position, upright if you want it, or down lower for a more sporty riding experience. Other components like the Tektro hydraulic disc brakes and 8-speed Altus derailleur paired with a trigger shifter are pretty standard e-bike components, even on e-bikes priced less. I also really like this new display compared to the one on the City Robin, and the additional tuning for each pedal assist level, as well as the ability to change from the torque sensor to a cadence sensor, is a nice bonus. The motor is extremely powerful, our hill climb test showcased that well, and the battery is just slightly above average. Euphree notes a range of up to 70 miles, though that's going to be in the lowest pedal assist level with plenty of human effort. Comfortably, 30 miles should be doable at higher speeds using lots of throttle, though of course there are tons of factors here. Next, here are the things I'd like to see in the next generation of the Stellar Falcon. Firstly, the charger port for the battery is well inside the frame, so it takes slightly longer to orient the cable correctly to get it plugged in, especially in dim lit areas. Next, that motor, you can hear it for yourself in the first person riding footage. Normally, I'm not one to call this out as it's typically just kind of what you get with e-bikes, but this motor did sound louder, but on the other hand, it's very powerful. Next, the Altus derailleur. It's the most common derailleur on most of the e-bikes I review on the channel, though at this price point, it would have been nice to see a step up. Because this e-bike is designed for off-road use, something with a clutch would have cut down on the chain bouncing around so much. And finally, plastic pedals. I'd just like to see something more durable. If I've helped you decide that the Stellar Falcon is the right one for you, please check out the links in the description to support us for free. Thanks in advance for your support. Euhpree Stellar Falcon offers a nice alternative to fat tire e-bikes being a do-everything type of e-bike. Doing so without the downsides of a fat tire e-bike, notably more weight and just a less nimble ride. I can see people looking at getting a commuter e-bike and just go with the Stellar Falcon instead, because why not? I'm curious to hear what you think, especially considering the price. Let me know in the comment section. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.